Adrian N. Breitfelder, City Clerk, you are hereby directed to call a regular session of the City Council to be held on Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. in the historic Federal Building for the purpose of conducting such business that may properly come before the City Council.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to a regular session of the Dubuque City Council for June 20th, 2023. As a reminder to our participants, you can provide in-person input or virtual audio and written input during the sections of the agenda where public input is accepted. Input options during the live meeting include: in-person attendees may approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any public input on the item they would like to speak to. Remote attendees can log into GoToMeeting using the login links, phone numbers, and access code that appear on the broadcast and live stream and posted on the front page of the meeting agenda. This option includes audio input and written chat input. If you are participating via computer, indicate which item you would like to speak to in the chat function, or note that you would like to speak during the appropriate section. If you are participating via phone, indicate which item you would like to speak to during the appropriate section. All comments, whether in person or virtual, must be accompanied by a name and address. Additionally, written public input is accepted by contacting the City Council directly from the city's webpage at www.cityofdubuque.org/councilcontacts and through the City Clerk's office email at ctyclerk@cityofdubuque.org. This information will be reiterated during the meeting. Attendance for the session is as follows: Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here.
Council members Farber.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Resnick. Here. Roussel.
Here.
Sprank.
Here.
Wethel.
Here.
City Manager Van Milligan.
Here.
And City Attorney Brumwell.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Kavanaugh, I will turn it over to you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Adrian. I invite all who are able to rise and please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move on to proclamations. Our first proclamation is Apples for Students Months.
All right, and Beth McGorry is here with us this evening from St. Mark. Come on up, Beth.
I'm short.
You can move
Can I
it
close
on the.
this?
There you go.
There we
Yeah,
go.
that'll work.
Good evening. I'm Beth McGorry from St. Mark Youth Enrichment, and as my favorite time of year rolls around is summer. Summer is a great time for us to, sadly and scary, prep for school, right? We just finished, and now we're prepping for the next school year. And our Apples for Students Fill the Bag program is one of my favorites. This nostalgia of opening a package of Crayola crayons and sharing them with my friends and pulling out the best colors of markers and making sure that I felt good. I'm old enough to know that having a trapper keeper was cool in school, and I didn't have one. And so I knew that there were levels of playing fields that our kids played on, even in an elementary school. And this project helps kids think of that impossible day of walking into school and not knowing what they have to be really a day of possibilities. And they get to dream in crayons. And on that first day, they've got their bag of school supplies sitting there waiting for them with a lovely little note from many community members in this room today. Like, I actually can point out a few people who've written lovely notes to kids in our area. And that day brings so much stress relief from our parents. And buying another $50 worth of school supplies is a lot when you are dealing with the world that we live in today. And this project, oh my gosh, makes me cry every year. We'll pack up all of these bags into this amazing machine down in Five Flags, and this community continues to support this project. We'll take care of 3,600 kiddos. Well, even though our numbers are dwindling and we're losing students in our community schools, the need is rising for our families. And so we thank you for continuing to support our school supply project.
Well, thank you so much for having the project and for continuing to support our families in this way. So thank you for being here to accept this proclamation and the next one so you can stay right where you are as I read this here. City Dubuque proclamation. Whereas since 1988, St. Mark Youth Enrichment has existed to work with the families of Dubuque to meet some of the unmet needs of their children. And Whereas St. Mark Youth Enrichment staff, committees, and board are dedicated to furthering the total learning experience of all children they work with. And whereas St. Mark Youth Enrichment will again be leading the Apples for Students Fill the Bag program in the Dubuque community during the months of June and July. This program collects money to buy basic school supplies for children of families who need help purchasing them. To date, St. Mark Youth Enrichment has given out over 38,000 bags of school supplies. And whereas local schools and human service agencies help St. Mark Youth Enrichment identify the 3,500 children in grades K through 12 who need school supplies this year. And whereas St. Mark Youth Enrichment invites the people of Dubuque to donate money to this program so school supplies can be purchased in bulk from local merchants and serve more children than they usually do. Now therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, staff, and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim that the month of June and July be designated for the collection of money to buy basic school supplies for needy children in the City of Dubuque, and urge the people of Dubuque to participate in this worthwhile project by supporting St. Mark Youth Enrichment in their effort toward helping our children. Okay, go ahead, Adrian.
Our second proclamation is Summer Learning Week.
Okay,
And
I'm
Beth
back again.
McGorry is here
I'm
to
back.
join us.
I'm back. You saw me, I ran back, and no. When I said I love summer, there is something amazing that happens in summer for the kids of Dubuque. This community has really rallied around summer learning. There's so much conversation of, is there really a summer slide, and where's the data for kids losing their educational components during the summer, and it's real. It's so real for our kids, and especially for our kiddos who have moms and dads who are working all the time. And where's the support in that? And it comes from summer programs like ours and the other great, amazing nonprofits here in town who are fulfilling those. I was just out at Boy Scout camp. Oh my God, that was so cool. And but as we continue to partner with kids and other nonprofits, if you walk by on Locust at about 12 to 12:15, it might look like about crazy chaos going on, but as we partner with our friends in our neighborhood, with the Masonic Temple all the way down to St. John's Episcopal Church and Space to take care of these kids, we're taking care of 90 kids here in town, giving them the best time of their life. I think of reading comprehension as one of the key components of what we're doing, and I remember when I learned how to ride a bike, and I could feel the wind in my hair. And I read that when I went to kindergarten. I'm like, I know exactly how that feels. So maybe I understand reading just a little bit more. Our kids don't often get to ride those bikes and feel the wind in their hair, but they do when we take them to Four Mounds and they fly down the zip line and have an experience that they get to walk into school and someone goes, what'd you do this summer? I was on a zip line. It was the coolest thing ever. And so it really levels our playing field for our kids. And we take all of the kids from all over the community, which to me was something fun to hear from one of my moms. She was like, you know what, Beth? My kiddo loves to have his St. Mark friend. They don't go to the same school. This is my St. Mark school friend, and I love it. And I love that I get to be there with him. So with this community, we know that there are opportunities to celebrate summer learning. And we invite all of you to come visit us and see the kids because they love you. I just have to tell you that they love seeing visitors who care about them, and they know that you care when you show up. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Beth. We just love the stories you tell when you come here, so thank you so much for being here this evening. City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas St. Mark Youth Enrichment has provided significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education and well-being of our youth, grounded in the principle that quality summer programs are key to helping our children become successful adults. And whereas Summer Learning Week is a week to reflect on the importance of keeping youth learning, safe, and healthy every summer, ensuring they return to school in the fall, ready to succeed in the year ahead. And whereas summer learning programs are proven to maintain and advance students' academic and social growth and keep children safe and healthy during the summer. And whereas a wide variety of public agencies, community-based organizations, schools, libraries, museums, recreation centers, camps, and businesses in our community contribute to the well-being of youth through summer programming. And whereas the City of Dubuque is committed to investing in the health and safety of all young people, and joyful summer learning experiences are a critical component of our collective effort to ensure Dubuque's educational recovery and that all students heal, grow, and thrive. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the second week of July 2023 as Summer Learning Week in the City of Dubuque, Iowa, and ask all residents to enthusiastically endorse and engage in innovative summer programs and activities that ensure all children have the opportunity to grow and be successful. So good to see you. Okay, Adrian.
We will move on to consent items. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the consent items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Please state the item you would like removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration. And consent items can be found on pages 2 through 5 of the agenda.
Thank you, Adrian. Do we have anyone here in chambers who would like to remove any of the consent items for further discussion, please? I see no one. Do we have anyone who is virtual? Okay.
No input received.
All right. Back to the table then.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file the documents, adopt the resolutions, and deal with the consent items as recommended.
Second by Farber.
Got a motion by Resnick and a second by Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
7-0.
We will move on to boards and commissions. We have appointments for the Board of Library Trustees, the Cable Television Commission, Historic Preservation Commission, Long Range Planning Advisory Commission, Park and Recreation Advisory Commission, Resilient Community Advisory Commission, and the Zoning Advisory Commission.
All right, thank you, Adrian. So we have a little bit of work to do here, so everyone bear with us, please. Just for the council's recognition here, I see multiple ones here that we can entertain a motion because we'll have that number of openings. I see some that I will ask for a roll call, so I'll do those individually. So we'll start with the Board of Library Trustees. We have 2 4-year terms, and we have 2 applicants, so I'll entertain a motion here, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to appoint Victor Lieberman and Pam Mullen to the 2 4-year terms for the Board of Library Trustees.
Second by Sprank.
Got a motion by Roussel and a second by Sprank. Mr. Resnick.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Is this a mayoral appointment for the library board? No?
Not anymore.
No, I don't believe it is. In fact, I don't think we have.
It used to be, we changed it recently.
Okay. Thank you. I don't think we have any mayoral appointments on the list tonight. Thank you for the question. Yeah. Okay. So motion by Roussel, second by Sprank. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Motion passes 7-0. Victor Lieberman and Pam Mullen are both appointed to the Board of Library Trustees through 2027. The next commission is the Cable Television Commission. We have 2 3-year terms through 26, and we have 2 applicants, so I'll entertain a motion here, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move that Pauline Maloney and Ronald Tigas be reappointed to the Cable Television Commission for new terms starting or through July 2026.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Jones and a second by Wethel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh. Roussel.
Aye.
Jones. Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. Pauline Maloney and Ronald Tigas are appointed to the Cable Television Commission through 2026. Next commission is the Historic Preservation Commission. We have 2 3-year terms through 2026 and 2 applicants here, so I'll also entertain a motion here, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move that Thea DeMett and Christina Monk be reappointed to the Historic Preservation Commission in the specified roles required by ordinance.
Second by Sprank.
Got a motion by Jones and a second by Sprank. And that motion works there for that one, based on the specified by ordinance? Okay, thank you very much. I knew you knew that, Mr. Jones. I was just checking. We have a motion and a second. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. Taya Dement and Christina Monk are both appointed to the Historic Preservation Commission through 2026. Next up, Long Range Planning Advisory Commission. We have 1 3-year term through 26 and 1 applicant. So I would entertain a motion here, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Farber.
Yes, I move that we appoint Mark Ward to the Long Range Planning Advisory Commission, which continues a 3-year term through 2026. Second by Roussel.
Got a motion by Farber and a second by Roussel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Mark Ward is appointed to the Long Range Planning Advisory Commission through 2026. Next up, Park and Recreation Advisory Commission. Here we have three-year terms through 26, and we have 5 applicants. So I will ask Adrian to please call the roll, and then you can choose three people to serve those terms since they can serve in any one of them.
Resnick.
Ron Axtell, Robin Kinnicker, and Jessica Ochoa.
Wethel.
Ron Axtell, Robin Kinnicker, Jessica Ochoa.
Kavanaugh.
Ron Axtell, Robin Kennecker, and Jessica Ochoa.
Roussel.
Ron Axtell, Robin Kennicker, Jessica Ochoa.
Jones.
Ron Axtell, Robin Kennecker, Jessica Ochoa.
Sprank.
Ron Axtell, Robin Kennecker, and Jessica Ochoa.
Farber.
Eric Hilbin, Ron Oxtell, and Robin Kennecker.
All right, so we have Ron Axtell, Robin Kennecker, and Jessica Ochoa appointed to the terms through 2026 on the Park and Recreation Advisory Commission. All right, next up we have a cross-representative for the Resilient Community Advisory Commission. I think in this case it would be easiest to call roll as well. So I'll just ask Adrian to please call the roll, and then you can choose one member for the commission, please.
Resnick.
Robin Kinnicker,
Wethel.
Robin Kinnicker.
Kavanaugh.
Robin Kennecker.
Roussel.
Robin Kinnicker.
Jones.
Robin Kennecker.
Sprank.
Robin Kennecker.
Farber.
Robin Kennecker.
Robin Kennecker is appointed to the term for the cross-representative on the Resilient Community Advisory Commission. Sticking with the Resilient Community Advisory Commission, we have 2 3-year terms, both through 2026. They're both at-large terms, and so with 2 terms, we have 5 applicants. So if we could call the roll, please, and you could choose 2 of the applicants.
And Mr. Mayor, just to
Yes.
clarify on that, because Robin Kennecker was appointed to the cross-representative term, she's not eligible for the at-large term, but Ms. Dement is.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Okay. So with that, I'll ask you, please call the roll.
Resnick.
Joshua Chamberlain, and Lori Allendeclick.
Wethel.
Joshua Chamberlain and Laylit Yawik Rama.
Kavanaugh.
Josh Chamberlain and Lalith Jayawikrama.
Roussel.
Josh Chamberlain, Lalith Jayawick Rama.
Jones.
Josh Chamberlain, Lalith Jayawikrama.
Sprank.
Josh Chamberlain, Lalith Jayawikarama.
Farber.
Joshua Chamberlain and Lalith Yaya Wikrama.
Thank you very much, Ms. Farber. We've got the name right there. I apologize to Ms. Jayawikrama. So Lalith Jayawikrama and Joshua Chamberlain are appointed to the 2 3-year terms through 2026. Our final appointment for the evening is the Zoning Advisory Commission. We have 3 3-year terms through 2026 and 3 applicants, so I'll entertain a motion here, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to appoint Martha Christ, Carrie Lorman, and Terry Zaccaro to the 3-year terms on the Zoning Advisory Commission.
Second by Farber.
Got a motion by Roussel and a second by Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick. Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
We have Martha Christ, Carrie Lorman, and Terry Zaccaro appointed to the Zoning Advisory Commission through 2026. And I'll just say thank you to everyone who has applied here. It's really exciting, actually, to be able to fill that many spots on commissions all at the same time. I know we're always looking for people to serve, so thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Ms.
I'd
Roussel.
like to just make a note of thank you to Ms. Martha Christ for her very long-term service on the Zoning Advisory Commission. Back when I served on the commission, she had already been there for many years, and her expertise is a great asset to that commission. I'm glad to see her reappointed.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can move on, Adrian.
We'll move on to public hearings. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the public hearing items, Please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input for the public hearing you would like to speak to and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function and state your question, or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input for the public hearing you would like to speak to. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Public hearing number 1 is resolution approving the development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and McCoy Group Incorporated, LLC, providing for the sale of city-owned real estate to McCoy Group Incorporated and the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations pursuant to the development agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second?
A motion by Roussel and a second by Resnick. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending City Council adopt a resolution approving a proposed development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and McCoy Group Incorporated, providing for the sale of city-owned real estate in Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District to McCoy Group and the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. The McCoy Group is a private, family-owned company started in 1958. McCoy Group is the parent company of Foodliner, Questliner, Truck Country, and McCoy Construction and Forestry, John Deere Construction and Forestry dealerships. McCoy Group customer base is nationwide and in Mexico. Its customer base includes ADM, Ingredion, Cargill, KMG, General Mills, Walmart, Heartland Express, CRST, Dow, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and the United States Air Force, to name a few. McCoy Group employs 3,833 people nationwide, with 351 of those jobs located in Dubuque. Subject to State of Iowa and City of Dubuque approval, McCoy Group is proposing to purchase the building at 501 Bell Street for its corporate headquarters. The project would also include the sale of city-owned property to accommodate parking for McCoy Group employees. McCoy Group will have exclusive access to the parking area Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., except holidays. Outside of those hours, the parking area is open to the public. The project is anticipated to begin shortly after the finalization of the development agreement. In addition to the physical improvements, McCoy Group is proposing to create 18 new jobs with this expansion, all of which are considered high-quality jobs by the Iowa Economic Development Authority. The key elements of the development agreement include the following. Number 1, the developer must purchase an office facility located at 501 Bell Street. Number 2, McCoy Group must maintain its existing 248 full-time equivalent employees and create 18 new full-time equivalent jobs at the new facility by October 1st, 2026. The 266 full-time equivalent jobs must be maintained through the term of the development agreement. Number 3, McCoy Group will receive 10 years of tax increment financing incentives in the form of semi-annual rebates. These incentives are calculated in relation to the number of jobs committed in the development agreement. Tax increment financing incentives are estimated to not exceed $276,444. Number 4, the City of Dubuque will sell approximately 7/10 of an acre of parking property to McCoy Group for $1.1 million. Number 5, City of Dubuque will amend the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District plan to accommodate the issuance of tax increment financing incentives. In accordance with Iowa Code, a notice was published on May 19, 2023, allowing for competitive bidding for the disposal of city-owned property in an urban renewal area. No proposals were received by city staff as of the posted deadline of June 16th at 10 a.m. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council adopt a resolution approving a proposed development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and McCoy Group Incorporated, providing for the sale of city-owned real estate in Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District to McCoy Group Incorporated and the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. Do we have anyone here in chambers to address us on this item? I see no one. We have anyone? Oh, yes. Actually, if you need to, you can come up here and then we just need your name and address to be able to, yep.
Yeah, my name is, well, I don't even need the mic. My name is Zach Berry. I live at 2688 University Avenue. Just a quick question, like, you're talking about, like, purchasing land, or they were purchasing land for a parking lot. So is that parking lot that was already down there at where, McGraw Hill was at? Or was that for a new parking lot that they have? I was just wondering because of the fact that there's already a lot of parking lot land down there. And I question whether or not we need any more, considering the amount that's already present.
Okay, thank you. We will, I'm going to see if there's any other questions, and then we bring it back to the table for discussion. We'll see if we have an answer to your question there. All right, thank you very much. Any others? Okay, do we have anyone virtually? Okay,
No input received.
all right, then I will bring it back to the table for any discussion. And I'll start with the question that was raised by Zach here. So the question of the parking lot, Mike, can you just clarify for us what we're talking about when we discuss this parking lot, please?
Yes, thank you. So the property they're buying is the existing parking lot that is just north of the property that they're buying from McGraw Hill. And that's an existing city-owned parking lot that they'll be purchasing.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. All right, any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Jones.
Should point out, though, it's not the large lot that McGraw Hill currently uses. It's used for other uses as well. That lot will remain the city's, but it'll be available for their use.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Sorry, the way this works, we can't have like a discussion back and forth like that. I apologize. Yeah, it's okay. So we're so yeah, if do you have a further question? I will entertain that if you have another one. You have to come up and speak in the mic though, because we have people online that are on camera too. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Yeah, I think I'm good with my. Okay. All right. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Any others? Well, I'll just say, we're talking development here a little bit tonight, and I think, this deal in particular, we already did a development agreement with McCoy. Thankfully, it was wonderful, but and they had great plans, but then they found a better deal, and they came back to us and wanted to have a discussion about how that could maybe work in partnership with the city. And I just want to thank the city manager and staff, Jill Connors, for putting this together in the way that it came together so quickly. I think it actually worked out very, very well. I think everybody's getting what they need out of this, and I think that it's actually going to work well for the city of Dubuque as well. So thank you very much for your work on that, and thank you to the McCoy Group. There's no other discussion. Then we have a motion by Roussel and a second by Resnick. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 2 is resolution approving the development agreement between the City of Dubuque and Switch Homes LLC, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations pursuant to the development agreement.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Sprague.
Got a motion by Jones and a second by Sprank. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a proposed development agreement between Switch Homes LLC and the City of Dubuque, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. This proposed development agreement would further the city's goal, livable neighborhoods and housing, great place to live. In September 2022, the City Council approved new housing incentives in order to facilitate the creation of a variety of housing options in the City of Dubuque. This action has spurred interest in developing housing, including the construction of single-family homes. Switch Homes LLC proposes to construct 105 single-family homes and multi-family units in an area locally referred to as Mazzina Farms, located south of the Northwest Arterial and east of John F. Kennedy Road. This property was recently rezoned to accommodate residential construction. As part of that project, numerous public improvements must be made, including the construction of streets and installation of public utilities. Certain of these public improvements are required to be constructed within 2 years of the date of the agreement, after which the developer agrees to maintain those improvements for a minimum of an additional 2 years. The project is planned in a phased approach. The development agreement requires the first phase to begin construction by August 1st, 2023, and allows up to 5 years for completion. Phase 2 must begin within 5 years of the date of the development agreement, and Phase 3 must begin within 10 years of the date of the development agreement. with each of those additional phases required to be completed within 5 years after commencement of construction. Under the Iowa Code, the city may exercise its urban renewal authority and use tax increment to reimburse expenses for public improvements. To this end, city staff have prepared an urban renewal plan, which will be brought to the city council for approval for this development agreement. Urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations will be based on the actual increment received by the city, minus the 38% set aside for low-income housing programs for each 6-month period during the term of this development agreement. The development agreement provides for urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations to reimburse up to the qualified cost for the following infrastructure improvements as allowed by Iowa law: the principal structures, works, components, parts, and accessories of any of the following: sanitary, storm and combined sewers, drainage conduits, channels and levees, street grading, paving, etc., street lighting, fixtures, connections, and facilities, sewage pumping stations and disposal and treatment facilities, underground gas, water, heating, sewer, and electrical connections, sidewalks and pedestrian underpasses or overpasses, drives and driveway approaches within the public right-of-way, waterworks, water mains and extensions, plazas, arcades, and malls, parking facilities, a removal of diseased or dead trees from any public place, publicly owned right-of-way or private property, and traffic control devices, fixtures, connections, and facilities. The City Council is also being asked to amend the development agreement, replacing the term development activities with the term infrastructure improvements, and replacing the term actual costs with the term qualified costs. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a proposed development agreement between Switch Homes LLC and the City of Dubuque, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. Do we have anyone present here to discuss this with us this evening? Yes, and I should have said earlier, Zach, sorry about this. Come on up, name and address, and provide that. So I just didn't give the instructions very well, so that's my bad.
Understandable. Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, ladies and gentlemen of the council, City Manager Mike Van Milligan, and his most excellent staff. My name is Eric Lucy, and I reside at 2736 Tiffany Court. As a representative of over 100 members of the West 32nd, Bruick and Blasen Roads, and Tiffany Court, as well as Arbor Oaks neighborhoods, and many other citizens of our great community, we are actually very excited about the latest news regarding Mr. Mulligan and his Switch Homes property being considered for receiving $4.3 million. As we've had many conversations in the last year, we've stated all through the process we do not oppose this development. The homes that have been presented look very nice, quality, and as the city is stated, and we understand, we need more homes to not only attract but maintain the proper employees that we need for our community. Now, we were going to talk about our concerns earlier expressed, but and even there was a petition that was floating around that I have a copy of that had about 200 signatures, but I think we can set that aside. And I think through this whole process, I've learned a lot. I know that, I recall, and many of you probably did the same thing when we were younger. We'd sit around with each other and we'd talk about, boy, if you had a superpower, what would it be? And, it'd be invisible or fly. And as I became an adult, the superpower I always thought would be really incredible is if you could speak and understand every language in the world. I mean, imagine what could be accomplished. Imagine what disputes could be taken care of in a really great manner. And so, through this process, this last year, we've heard terms like stub streets, conflict points, sight lines, speed points, J-turns, priority warrant access. The list goes on and on. It's possible that we may even hear from some staff tonight about some traffic analysis and engineering studies on why we should not put in a full intersection on this stretch of the arterial. And I know I'm probably a little bit ahead because I understand that the final plat is also on the agenda, but maybe we'll just take care of it all in one conversation here, because this all is related to the 4.3 million. And we might even hear that it's safer to not put a traffic light on the arterial, which for me is a real head scratcher, and I think for many others, because even the Telegraph-Herald's editorial board stated recently in the May 21st edition, and I'm reading from them, this is the same stretch Dubuque Police Chief Jeremy Jensen referred to as a speedway when he pitched the city council on posting speed cameras on key roadways to slow traffic down. You know what else would slow traffic down? A stoplight in the middle of that stretch. Those are quotes from that. They further go on to say, it's hard to imagine that having 9 stoplights in the arterial instead of 8 would be a bridge too far when adding one more would solve a few problems and make 2 housing developments more safe and accessible. It's possible that we're going to hear more how the DOT did not like how the city had put lights on the stretch from Highway 20 to JFK, and when they went to the next phase from JFK down to Central, they wanted to keep that a access control corridor, if I recall. But it's important to know that both Mr. Mulligan and Mr. Gantz have access rights that were part of that agreement, and their properties are across from each other. They can connect. We even had from the staff and the zoning, or the people from the zoning commission, that the stoplight is not ideal, but there's so many on the other stretch that what's one more? And there are already 8 lights on the arterial 5-mile stretch. One more is not going to hurt. These are things that were said by people from the zoning commission. We may even hear from the city staff that a traffic light would disrupt semi-traffic. When it comes to semi-traffic, man, it's amazing what you can find on the DOT website. They have a myriad of signals and sensors that can be used that they can actually, I didn't know this, but they can determine the speed, the weight, the size of vehicles, and they can make it where if there are people that want to go in and out of those 2 developments, that they can do it when there isn't semi-traffic coming there. They can delay that and do it appropriately. Perhaps the city and the property owners of future development can work out a public-private partnership that works for all parties, including the citizens of our community, similar to what was recently agreed upon with Switch Homes for their JFK arterial development. Even the Telegraph-Herald report in last week's June 18th edition, and again a quote, "After all, this is Dubuque, where leaders have long pointed to public-private partnerships as the secret to the community's success. Indeed, the city has negotiated hundreds, if not thousands of deals over the years that made myriad improvements in Dubuque." Well, most of you know that if any of us want a certain outcome, we can come up with the appropriate data to support that outcome. There's plenty of data for all kinds of things. In fact, my sons, 2 of them were home for Father's Day, 123, 140, and a 16-year-old grandson. And they were asking how this was going, and I said, well, actually, we're kind of excited. There's some, TIF is the term I use, or tax instrument financing. I don't know if that's the appropriate term for this one, but similar in nature. And they asked, well, how does that work? And I explained to them, I says, well, you've got this parcel of land that's just sitting there, not getting much income from taxes. They're going to put these houses, that's going to generate a lot of income from property taxes. So they're just saying, we're going to take some of this money that the city would otherwise get and help with the developer's expenses. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they said, well, would some of that be able to be used for the intersection? And I said, well, it's very possible. One of them said, well, because I was explaining to him the whole part about how we've been hearing a lot of information from the staff of reasons why not to put in a light or a turnaround, or is that what you call it, turnaround? And they said, well, what if like a Bass Pro Shop or some other entity similar to that called the city and said, hey, we want this parcel of land, we're going to put this there on one condition, we need a full interchange. Do you think they could find the data to support a reason why to put an intersection in there? I'll let it sit as it is. So I'm not going to use a bunch of big words or engineer speak because I don't fall into that category. Again, we're excited about the proposal of the $4.3 million that could be awarded to Mr. Mulligan and how him receiving the 4 point could positively affect this development. I had to go back and look at, because I'd never want to put words in other people's mouths, so I looked at the July 5th, 2022 City Council meeting, and Mr. Mulligan made a number of statements that can be easily found, on the recorded video, and it begins somewhere around the hour-and-a-half period. And when he spoke to you, the members of the City Council, and these are quotes from Mr. Mulligan, "My motives are pure. I'm not a developer, I'm a builder. And let me express to you my vision. This is not to be confused with low income. This is affordable housing," end of quote, which he has maintained. And again, the type of housing we need for our city to attract and maintain the people we want for our companies. He goes on to make statements regarding the costs associated with making the arterial a full intersection as well as a traffic study that was required. One such statement Mr. Mulligan made, and this is a direct quote again, "If we want a left turn, fine. The neighborhood cannot financially absorb this." Now, we want to be sensitive to Mr. Mulligan's expense and profit from this development. Obviously, no one's going to develop something if it's not going to be financially feasible. In fact, me personally, and I think many others, admire Mr. Mulligan, people like him who are willing to weigh the risks and the rewards and take on an endeavor such as this. And he weighed those risks and rewards over a year ago and decided the juice was worth the squeeze. Well, in that same meeting, he also said, "So for clarity, the decisions that were made, yes, they cost me money. $65,000 to be exact in the short term. In the long term, you've cost 105 buyers $700 each."
Mr. Lucy, just real quick, we usually do 5 minutes, so I let you go over here, but if we could try and wrap up, we'd appreciate it.
Almost finished, and I appreciate it. And the reason why I'm the one up here is to prevent 20 people from coming up here.
Understood. Understood.
So my 8 minutes or 10 minutes will be shorter than the rest combined. But when he said that, it's fair and reasonable to understand that since Mr. Mulligan, that he was referring to the $65,000 additional expense for a traffic study that he wasn't prepared for. So he would pass that expense on to the future buyers in the $700 per buyer. Now we're discussing a reduction to his expenses of $4.3 million to help pay for infrastructure costs that were described. And this can be easily justified when you consider what Jill Connors had said when she said Switch Homes will generate $7 million in tax revenue over the next 10 years. Easy to justify. Plus 10 years after that, and 10 years after that. So a year ago, when he was faced with a $65,000 unintended expense, he stated he would pass that on to the buyer. We're excited to see how he's going to treat this $4.3 million reduction in his expenses. Now, we don't expect him to lower the cost of those homes by $40,000 each. And we don't expect him to foot the whole bill for an intersection. Again, public-private partnerships, we're very confident that the additional developer on the north, as well as the future developer to the east, would be willing to participate. If the city would be willing to do that, this is a conversation that you've heard multiple times. This is a great opportunity to use, and just use a portion of that money. Now, maybe you can't use that specific money for that specific purpose, but as we all know, if I have an extra, which would be great, an extra $4.3 million was going to show up in my checking account over the next several years, maybe I can't use it for, it has to be earmarked for a specific thing, but now I've freed up some money for other things. So that's really all we're talking about. And Dubuque is a tremendous city. And the one thing I love about our community is that we didn't get where we're at by thinking of reasons why not to do things, we got where we're at by our leadership, the people in this room, the people outside of this room, the people that came before us that said, we are going to do things. We're going to figure out reasons how to make something happen. We have a great opportunity. You have the ability to do whatever you want. We're encouraging you. Let's look long-term, long-range. And yeah, I don't have I didn't go to college, but after 40 years of life experience in business, I feel like I've got like a master's degree in long-term planning and a PhD in common sense. I'd like to see us use everybody's collective common sense and long-range planning. And on behalf of all of the people that I'm representing, let's consider using some of that money and bringing all the parties together to make this a benefit for everybody, and we will get these houses going, and we'll get the other houses on the other side, and then I'm pretty confident in the next 5 years you're going to see another big chunk of land that's going to be connected to that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lucy. Any other comments on this item? All right, seeing none. Anyone virtual?
No. James Gantz of 122414 Forest Meadow Drive submitted written input that's been included with the agenda item.
Thank you very much. All right, back to the table for discussion, please. Mr. Jones.
So right now, what exists is this development proposal. The Gantz thing, is that in process? Can anybody update us on the status of that prospect?
So was Wally Wernemont here? Wally Planning Services Manager, can update you on the status of the Gantz proposal.
Wally Wernemont, Planning Services Manager. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. To update you with regards to the conceptual development plan, Jim Gantz was going through a plan unit development for the rezoning of his development on the north side of the Northwest Arterial, which entailed 154 units. That has gone through the Zoning Advisory Commission. They reviewed the request. That request has been tabled with regards to the access to the Northwest Arterial. They're proposing a full interchange with this development. That has been requested to be looked at the right turn, right in, right out access points. Information was being provided by a traffic study that was actually being conducted by the city by an independent traffic consultant that looked at identifying traffic signals, J-turns, an unsignalized intersection, multiple opportunities, and what the costs were associated with that. As part of that traffic study conducted by that independent consultant, it was recommended that just the right in, right out access points that the engineering department is requesting is more than adequate to meet the development needs for that development. So currently right now, the process is waiting for a revised concept plan to come back to our office from Mr. Gantz. Does that answer your question?
I think so. I guess we've got one building block of this problem, and then this other hypothetical probably going to happen 1 year. And is it appropriate for the council to take it as a whole problem and say, an intersection makes more sense? And I'm not saying that, but it's crossed my mind that as more development occurs, that it makes more sense to do that. Could it be done later if the traffic patterns require that? Or are we confident that we've got a traffic arrangement that will serve the immediate needs or the immediate proposal before us, and that an adequate plan is being worked on for the secondary proposal that has not yet come here?
Yeah.
That's really, I'd say, a rhetorical question, so I don't think we'll respond to that as staff. I mean, it's really for a debate amongst you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Can I add something else?
Go ahead, Wally.
It might come up with the plat if you ask me to come up, but with the development, for Switch development, there are some improvements that were required to that subdivision for extension of city water and sewer to Gantz's development, which required some upsizing of the sanitary sewer pipes, easements to provide connections to sanitary sewer and water to the development to the to the north with regards to that. So his development has been taken into consideration with the development of Switch Homes development as well.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
So a while back, the council came up with a set of guidelines that encouraged a lot of development. And so I'm assuming that Mr. Mulligan had those guidelines when he developed this plan. Would that be correct? I mean, like, this isn't a surprise to him, this extra money, this extra $4 million.
What we're discussing tonight, you're saying?
Right. I mean, I think that that's probably what spurred this development in the first place. Would that be correct? I mean, or do we think this is just a surprise to him?
Yes, thank you for that question. So the answer is yes. Mr. Mulligan been aware of the incentive packages that the mayor and city council adopted. We've had many meetings with him. He's taking those financial incentives in consideration to determine whether he could afford to do this and how he then would price the sale of his lots and the price of his homes. So yes, this has been part of the discussion.
Okay. So I guess I know that there's a second discussion that's coming up. So I'm a little confused as to which decisions we should make impact this development agreement and which decisions are going to impact the final plat when that comes up as an action item.
So you'd want to discuss that a little bit more, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, should we be talking about all these details that were raised, or I guess specifically what are we voting on right here?
Right. So just to clarify, I think the development agreement that is attached to this public hearing item right here is, so this is a resolution approving the development agreement between the City of Dubuque and Switch Homes LLC. It doesn't, I mean, it's related to the final plat in the way that it's the same project, but this is the development agreement itself.
Okay.
So we are voting specifically right now on a development agreement specific to Switch Homes and the property that is on and everything that connects to it,
Okay.
is what I would say. And I guess just to jump in as far as the discussion piece, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Resnick. I do think it's important that as we talk about this, to Mr. Jones's point, Mr. Lucy's point, we have to think about big picture as we do this. But we also have to think about big picture that's sitting right before us. And the only thing that's in that picture right now that is an existing development that we are already moving forward with, that we've already talked about and voted on, is the Switch Homes development in this particular place. Now, other areas around this area could be developed at any point in time. It sure would be convenient if all of it was happening at the same time. But that's not usually the way development works. So we have to think about how it moves forward based on the facts that are sitting in front of us right now. So I do think that's just a point that I'm making for argument, that we have to focus on the facts that exist currently. Mr. Resnick, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry. Let me check real quick. Were you done, Ms. Roussel? Okay. Mr. Resnick, go ahead.
All right, and I just wanted to build on what Mr. Van Milligan was talking about, that this $4.3 million is not a windfall. It was fully expected. It's a very common element, the TIF district, and this is a vital, almost existential element to him already penciling out that he can finally, that this will work financially. So it's not like something new. And I wanted Mr. Van Milligan, could you confirm that it is a common element of a development agreement?
Yes, it is. And as I said, that I know from my discussions with him and our negotiations as city staff with him, that this has been taken into consideration throughout the idea of him doing this development, and was it affordable to do it?
Yes, and I'm glad that we did the traffic study I think it was important. We listened to our citizens and got that done. There is a very heavy infrastructure obligation to the development. And so the city portion of $4.3 million, making that available, I think that's a modest contribution to what's going to be an incredible development. And like I think the mayor said, that maybe, as things change, we can adopt if we need to. This development agreement is within the four corners of this agreement. I'm going to vote for that tonight. I think that's the financial aspect of that, and we could talk about the plan after that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Sprank.
Thank you. Question for the city manager. On the second page of your memo, you read off these 13 principal structures, and number 4 refers to street lighting, fixtures, connections, facilities. Number 8 refers to driveway approaches located to the public right-of-way, and then number 13 is traffic control devices, fixtures, connections, and facilities. Would any of those possibly affect a future issue of a hypothetical light four-way intersection on the Northwest Arterial? As to basically being the responsibility of the developer?
No, if you approve this agreement and you approve the final plat, which is an action item tonight, it does not show an intersection on the Northwest Arterial, a full four-way intersection. It just shows right in and right out improvements which would be eligible for these reimbursable expenses through TIF.
Thank you. And then my second question is, why is that last paragraph, why did the developer want to change some of that language about infrastructure improvements and actual cost to qualified cost?
I'm going to jump in here, and Jill can assist me if necessary.
Okay.
This was done in consultation with outside counsel at the Allers firm in Des Moines related to adjusting the language. So it was not a request of the developer. That was city initiated.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Greta.
Ms. Wethel.
I'm looking forward to moving forward with this. I appreciate any time that folks contact me, help me to feel educated about their concerns about future development. But that's the future. And I know that we need to keep those things in mind moving forward. But I'm excited that Switch Homes is here. And I'm excited about the fact that we get to have these conversations and we have citizens that want to participate and let us hear their concerns. And so by no means are we not listening by moving forward tonight. In fact, I think it helps us to keep all these things in perspective. So I want to thank Mr. Lucy and all of those you represent. And moving forward, we'll continue to keep those things in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barber.
So, and I also want to thank Eric and the group of residents that have been, that are here tonight. And in talking about the public-private partnerships as we do move forward and looking forward to future expansions, I really hope that we have more conversation, as you have just noted, in order to help us better understand. And it is always great to have the communication and the input to keep us well-informed about ongoing concerns and neighborhood concerns. And I actually drove to your neighborhood yesterday and walked around and got just an idea of what the new development would be like, and especially at the end of the street. So again, thank you very much for being here and for your communication and for your input. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to go off on a small tangent. We got a lot of work to do yet, so I don't want to take too long, but a small tangent. One of the things that I was concerned about when I got into this role, and just in city council in general, was that when you look at government and how things move, it is just so slow. Wouldn't you like to just be able to snap your fingers and say, let's get this done, let's go do it, and just go? And businesses can do that when they're on their own, nonprofits can sometimes do it, you're nimble, right? Well, one of the reasons that government is so slow is all the right reasons. It's because we have such great conversations with each other about these details. And some of them are hard. It was a year ago that we had this first conversation about this development. And that was a hard conversation. It lasted for a number of weeks. We had a difficult time. We muddled through in some ways as a community together to try and figure it out. One of the things I appreciate, though, and I've continued to appreciate, is how respectful this conversation has been, because it really has been, as far as a public conversation goes. We've done a really good job at this table, I think, with this group of people here on council, of really trying to figure out the facts and get them right. I just hope that as we move this forward and continue this conversation, we all recognize that we are trying to solve the same problem. And that problem is, we want to build a city that people want to move to and stay in for decades. Way past the time all of us are dead. Not that I wish that upon any of us, but way past that time. And we have to think about what that means as we make these decisions and think about how we're going to move this forward. Some of them aren't going to come out perfectly right away. Where we put intersections and how people get in and out of places are not always going to be the easiest things, and sometimes they're going to work really well, sometimes surprisingly well, sometimes they're not going to work so great and we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. What I hope that we can trust in this conversation is that this project is one of the first that really kind of kicked off the whole development scramble, I would say, for housing in the city of Dubuque. And it has been that. We have seen multiple development agreements approved by this council to really fix the housing challenges that we have. And we're working really hard to do that. So to Mr. Mulligan, thank you for being a trendsetter and starting this process and moving it forward. We know it's not easy. And we as a city council need to both recognize what developers are going through and trying to help them, but also recognizing what community members' concerns are and making sure that we hear those out and address them as best we can. And I think that we're doing that in this agreement here. I'm really excited to vote for this stage of it, help the development move along a little bit, help the neighborhood continue on in this conversation, bring some more of this housing and life into this area, and then work on solving some of the challenges as they come up. So right now, with this development agreement before us, we have a motion on the table to receive and file, adopt the resolution that will approve the development agreement. So I think we've all had a chance to say what we need to say here, so I'm going to go ahead and ask Adrian to please call the roll.
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 3 is Kerper Court and Kerper Boulevard Intersection Improvement Project.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second.
By Sprank, second by Jones. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. City Engineer Gus Zahoyas is recommending City Council approval of the plans, specifications, form of contract, an estimated cost of $1,695,477 for the Kerper Court and Kerper Boulevard Intersection Improvement Project through the adoption of the enclosed resolution. The Kerper Court and Kerper Boulevard intersection is currently a T intersection with Kerper Court as a stop-controlled intersection. The businesses on Kerper Court are Anderson Window and Door, Municipal Services Center, Bard Concrete, and Lamar Sign. Quick Trip has purchased the property on the south side of Kerper Court at Kerper Boulevard. They are planning on building a gas station convenience store at this location. As part of the conceptual site plan review process with the City Development Review Team, or DRT, a traffic impact study was required. The developer hired Kimberly Horn to complete the traffic impact study. The city met with Kimberly Horn to discuss the study, and Kimberly Horn submitted a traffic input study to the city for review. The results of the traffic input study showed that traffic safety improvements will be required immediately after development of the gas station convenience store at the intersection of Kerper Court and Kerper Boulevard. The traffic impact study recommended a traffic signal or a roundabout be installed at the intersection to provide an acceptable level of service. When planning for intersection improvements, the City of Dubuque prefers roundabouts to traffic signals whenever appropriate conditions exist. Benefits of roundabout intersections are many and include the following. Number one, roundabouts save the taxpayers money in maintenance and electricity costs over the life of the project. Number two, roundabouts are easier to maintain than signalized intersections. Number three, roundabouts are safer for pedestrians and bicyclists and prevent head-on or T-bone crashes. Number 4, roundabouts offer improved flexibility for business access on roadway locations. Number 5, roundabouts effectively and safely slow traffic and improve traffic flow. Number 6, roundabouts are being added by local and state governments across the United States. Today, they are commonplace for large vehicle operators such as semi and dump truck drivers. Number 7, roundabouts reduce fuel consumption and save money, especially for truck drivers. Number 8, roundabouts reduce greenhouse gases by minimizing idling at the intersection. Combined with improvements in safety and traffic flow, recent studies on roundabouts have demonstrated the potential to improve the local business climate. The economic benefits of roundabouts include, number 1, they're inviting. Roundabouts provide green space, generally have little or no congestion, and allow for easy access to destinations, including U-turns, all factors that make an area more aesthetically pleasing and inviting. Number 2, they provide connectivity. Roundabouts can be an integral part of a bicycle and pedestrian-friendly area, particularly due to forcing slower vehicle speeds and potentially reducing crossing distances or vehicle exposure for pedestrians. This translates into a more secure sense of the area and greater connectivity to the surrounding neighborhoods when people are able to walk and bike. Number 3, they provide greater visibility. Slower vehicle speeds mean drivers and passengers have time to see the businesses in the area, increasing the likelihood of stopping and shopping. Engineering staff, working in conjunction with the Public Information Office, prepared brochures and letters to contact all the abutting property owners on Kerper Boulevard from 12th Street to Hawthorne Street about the project. Additionally, engineering staff held one-on-one conversations with the property owners on Kerper Court and those directly abutting the intersection. A public information meeting occurred on June 8, 2023 in the Municipal Services Center from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. A small number of property owners attended. The development agreement has been entered into between the city and Quick Trip. Portions of the development agreement that pertain to the intersection improvements include the following. Number 1, the city agrees to design and construct the required Kerper Boulevard and Kerper Court roundabout improvement project. The estimated cost of the required improvements is $1,500,000. Required intersection improvements include but are not limited to roundabout, lane widening, lighting, underground utilities, crosswalks, sidewalks, and curb ramps. Number 2, Quick Trip agrees to place $750,000 in escrow to be utilized for the construction of the required intersection improvements, including but not limited to engineering, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. Number 3, the city agrees to make a good faith effort to construct the required intersection improvements so that they are operational by November 30th, 2024. And number 4, the developer agrees to pay 50%, not to exceed $750,000 of the actual cost of the required intersection improvements, including but not limited to engineering, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council approval of the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of $1,695,477 for the Kerper Court and Kerper Boulevard intersection improvement project through the adoption of the enclosed resolution. Do we have anyone here in chambers to address us on this item? Seeing no one here, do we have any virtual comments?
No.
Okay.
No input received.
All right, back to the table then for any discussion. Well, I will just say that I appreciated the information that was given in this memo and the memo from staff. This is not just about creating a new intersection, but there are some very specific reasons why we've decided to move in this direction of roundabouts. We've talked about that pretty frequently in our discussions here as a council. And we know that roundabouts are more challenging. There's a cost that's associated with them, but you have some very good reasons pointed out here why we are moving in that direction as a city. It really does check a lot of boxes for what we're trying to accomplish, especially when it comes to things like the ability for people to move from place to place easily. I mean, if you get frustrated sitting in traffic, this helps. That's one of the reasons we keep talking about it. It also is much more much safer for pedestrians and walking. I know that I bike through the roundabouts that we have very frequently, and I really appreciate that they're there. I feel like everything slows down as you're moving, as you get towards it. But there's also this piece of making sure that we're looking at it from the standpoint of climate and sustainability and resiliency. And I think it's important that we look at the benefits there too. And the benefits of fuel consumption and the things you spew into the air when you're sitting at a stoplight are really important considerations. So all of that said, I'm very appreciative of this agreement and the fact that we're moving forward with this particular project. Seeing no further comments, we have a motion and a second. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
7-0.
Public hearing number 4 is West First Street Sanitary Repair Project, initiate public improvement bidding process.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second?
And a motion by Resnick, second by Farber. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. City Engineer Gus Sahoyas is recommending City Council approve the plans, specifications, form of contract, an estimated cost of $280,699.71 for the West First Street Sanitary Sewer Repair Project through adoption of the attached resolution. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council approve the plan, specification, form of contract, and estimated cost of $280,699.71 for the West First Street Sanitary Repair Project through the adoption of the attached resolution. Do we have anyone here in chambers to address us on this item? Seeing no one here, do we have any virtual comments?
No.
Thank you.
No input received.
All right, thank you. Back to the table then for any discussion. No one wants to spend a bunch of time talking about sanitary sewers this evening? No? Okay. Seeing no discussion then, we have a motion by Resnick, second by Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 5 is grant of easements to James B. Ganson and Mary L. Ganson and Robert J. Flanagan and Tina M. Flanagan.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Roussel and a second by Resnick. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. City Engineer Gus Sahoyas is recommending City Council approval of the disposal of city interest in the granting of access easements to James B. Ganson and Mary L. Ganson and to Robert J. Flanagan and Tina M. Flanagan for private driveway improvements through city-owned property on Bellevue Heights Road through the adoption of the attached resolution. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council approval of the disposal of city interest in and the granting of access easements to James B. Ganson and Mary L. Ganson and to Robert J. Flanagan and Tina M. Flanagan for private driveway improvements through city-owned property on Bellevue Heights Road. Do we have anyone here to address us on this item? Seeing no one, any virtual?
No.
Thank you.
No input received.
Thank you. Back to the table then for any discussion. Seeing none. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
We will move on to public input. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting may address the City Council on the action items on the agenda or on matters under the control of the City Council. For all in-person attendees, please approach the podium and state your name and address when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Individual remarks are limited to 5 minutes, and the overall public input period is limited to 30 minutes. Under the Iowa Open Meetings Law, the City Council can take no formal action on comments given during public input or that do not relate to the action items on the agenda.
Thank you, Adrian. So I anticipate some public input this evening. So as you come up, I'm just going to give you a couple of guidelines, if you would, please. First of all, as Adrian mentioned, we usually go around 5 minutes per person. So if you could respectfully please try and stick to that. I expect a number of people to come up, and we're actually very glad you're here and excited to hear from you. We always like public input here, so it's good to hear from people. As you do so, know that you can move the podium up and down. So depending on your stature, wherever you'd like it, you can go ahead and move that up and down. There's a little black button on your right side side to move that up and down. Just state your name and address, please, for the record. And the last thing I ask is that we just please keep it civil and respectful. I always try to add that when we have public input. Just please don't attack anyone personally, stick to the facts as much as you can, and then feel free to share with it whatever you like that's in the control of the council here. So I invite anyone up to discuss public input, please.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and the council. My name is Marty Korfman. I live at 1185 North Booth Street here in Dubuque. I am an avid amateur birder involved with our Dubuque Audubon Society, the National Audubon Society, several ornithology organizations, and in citizen participation in data collection about our area birds. And since early spring, I learned that we had a population of bobolinks specifically, which are a very, very beautiful grassland bird that to the birding community, the only location that they knew of that these birds were still breeding in our area. They come all the way here from South America. And this was the only place that they knew about it. So I found out about these grasslands that were out behind the AMC Theater called the Plaza Drive area. There were 3 or 4 very large fields out there just full of the most beautiful wildflowers. And in the spring, as those came in, these migrating birds, bobolinks, dickthistles, eastern meadowlarks, grasshopper sparrows, savanna sparrows, all protected birds under the Fish and Wildlife treaties. These birds started coming in and started making their nests. And these beautiful birds make their nests on the ground in the grasses. And they have very, very specific requirements for the type of habitat that they are willing to make nests in, which is probably why there are so few of them in the world. So this was a really important area, and I would just make a trip out there periodically to watch the progress. And it was exciting to see that there were clearly lots of nesting pairs of these different birds out there, taking photos of the birds and of the grassland. And on the 13th of June, I went out there at lunch, and I turned the corner, and they were mowing the fields. And so that meant that they were killing those birds and their nests. So I approached the young man who was mowing the field under contract, and not knowing any of the history about this, other than what I had read in the newspaper, starting in October of last year, that there were conversations about trying to prevent this from happening. And I said, you're almost done, but if you look over here, you can see all these other birds that are over here trying to protect their existing nests. You can watch their behavior. They were freaking out. So I asked him for his company information. I called his dad, AJ Fab, told him that, to my knowledge, these are protected birds under federal law, and asked them to immediately just stop, because it might be a matter of a week or 2 weeks only. They did not stop. He said they were under contract and couldn't, and that they were apparently looking to break ground this week now. So it was a very horrible experience for me. As you can tell, I mean, it's a week later, and it's like, I'm still emotional about it. But it was so preventable. And somehow the communication broke down to make this not happen. They really only had to wait until the beginning of July to make sure that these fledglings, these birds that are in these nests in the ground, could be in flight and out of the nests. So that didn't happen. I know that previously conversation has happened with the city to try to create some replacement habitat for these birds to be able to move to a new habitat. And that would be quite an undertaking to do, but it was conversation, and I think that the council was amenable to trying to pursue this because this development was going to happen one way or the other. The good news is, on, I believe it was Friday, it might have been Saturday of the same week, this was just the 13th that I discovered this, Tony Moline, an avid local birder, happened upon the fields on Data Court out in our technology park. These fields are absolutely full of these amazing birds. So that wasn't the only location after all in our city where these birds are. So I went out there as fast as I could with my husband to go and see these nesting birds, to lift my spirits and have some hope for them. So it is my understanding that this is city-owned land that is currently for sale. I believe I'm not sure who the realtor is, actually. But what I would really like to have happen here, it just feels like this is an opportunity, since the city already owns this land, apparently had previously been amenable to considering creating new habitat in our city for these birds. It already exists. So my worry is that we might have this land out for contract to be mowed on the city. I don't know who is responsible for that, but I could go out there tomorrow and see that these fields are being mowed, and I don't want that to happen. So, in my opinion, that's of urgent need. I would eventually like, very much, for us to have conversation with the Dubuque Audubon Society. There's another birder here, Ken Kiss, who is in charge of our Dubuque Audubon Society, who would like to speak. And we would really like to see a partnership created where some of this land could be set aside as a preserve and to provide some education for the community members who want to partake. So I will hand it over, but first I would like to mention that Tony Moline with our Audubon Society has put together a guided birding tour of these grasslands out in the Technology Park for this Thursday at 6:45, and I would like to formally invite any of you who would like to go to see this and to learn more about what these birds' needs are and why they are important, because Tony will do a much better job of explaining that than I can. So if you are able, please do come this Thursday to that. They are meeting at the E.B. Lyons Center at the Mines of Spain at 6:45 and then traveling over there. I don't know if it's appropriate, but I have a number of photos of the birds in the new area. I didn't bring pictures of the mowed over birds. That was too traumatic. Those birds out in Plaza Drive, they were just freaking out along the edges, yelling.
You'd like to leave that with us, you're saying?
So I would like to leave, this is a thumb drive that has photos of the new place. Sure. So if many of you wouldn't be able to go out there, perhaps I could leave this with you and you guys.
You can hand that to Corey, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank
Great.
you.
And if you need photos of what happened out there with the mowing and the birds that were upset that day, I have pictures of those too, which I can share with you, but those aren't happy photos.
Well, thank you for your
very
comments,
much.
Marty.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor and City Council, I appreciate being able to address you. My name is Ken Kiss. I'm with Dubuque Audubon President. I currently live at 16844 Muntz Court. So my purpose coming here today was, as Marty's, is to address the grassland at Plaza Drive and the construction by Talon Development. And I think most of you are probably aware of the article that occurred in the paper. And I just wanted to make it clear that we did write a letter. I wrote a letter as a representative of Audubon on May 13th to the developer that they should hold off till mid-July because the birds had already started nesting. Apparently, they never received the letter. I also sent an email at the same time, so they never got it. So, and Marty explained how on the 13th of June, she saw them mowing the area. I take partial responsibility for this occurrence because I didn't follow up. I should have followed up and notified the developer of the situation that the birds were nesting. So how could this have been prevented? Well, back in October, when this project was approved and the discussion was with the city, I know there was a lot of discussion about could we come up with a new patch of land that could serve as an alternate habitat for the birds. But I don't recall any discussion on when the construction was occurring, how we were going to prevent issues with the birds. So that was kind of something that was overlooked, I think. So in the future, any construction permits that you issue for development, I think you definitely have to have an environmental assessment and see how the project affects existing bird habitats and how to mitigate the effects of those birds on the grasslands. The grassland birds are the most threatened, just simply because their territory is disappearing. So from the article in the paper, I'm understanding the city is exploring with the U.S. and Fish and Wildlife Service, the Urban Bird Treaty Program, which helps cities restore habitats for birds. I think that's a great start. I also recognize, as Marty explained, the recent discovery of these birds on Key West Technology Park along Digital Drive and Data Court. There's 3 basic lots. And is it appropriate I can pass around some pictures of birds that were taken there?
Sure, yeah. Thank you.
So this was recently discovered and not known to too many people in Audubon, and it's just a very important habitat for these grassland birds. So the city owns, I'm going to say they're lots. There's 3 different sections, and I did talk to the park department today, and they typically mow it just in late summer. So this obviously is working great for these birds. These typical birds like very short grass or a certain height. So that's apparently accomplishing that. So I did a little thinking, and I'm just throwing this out, that I think it'd be great to have a partnership between the city, Dubuque Audubon, and if Talon Development wanted to participate, I wouldn't have any objection. But I think that there should be a grassland set aside as a permanent preserve. And the city owns the land. I think that you could develop it, you could add signs, maybe construct a platform, other improvements, and you could serve it as an educational area for grassland birds. And if the city wanted to pursue something like this, the Dubuque Audubon Board, I would talk to them and we'd consider, I'm sure I could convince them to have a fundraiser and raise as much funds as we can to proceed with such a development. So I want the city to know that they can always reach out to the Dubuque Audubon if they have any questions about birds and birds habitat. We can find you the proper experts and help you out there. And Marty already informed you about this event at Key West. We appreciate to have any of you come out that want to. And if there's another time that will work for you, let us know. We'll take you out there. We'll show you how the birds nest in the grassland. And some of them are fledged already now, but that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ken, for your comments.
Hello, my name is Dave Sheeler. I'm an ornithologist and biology professor at Loras College, and I just want to impress upon the council that, I mean, the potential seriousness of what actually happened out at Plaza Drive, I don't think that was necessarily conveyed very effectively in the TH article. It is a federal offense. It's a violation of the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, which is a misdemeanor, but I'm just thinking ahead. You're talking about development and all this sort of thing, and I really urge council to think progressively in the future about making sure that you've got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed with environmental impact statements, because this is really a black eye for the developer if he gets hit with a federal fine, and certainly a black eye for the city of Dubuque. Just to clarify, like, the counter argument basically would be, well, this is private property. I can do whatever I want on my own land. I can mow my grass, certainly. Well, if you're killing a federally protected species, I mean, I can't shoot something in my yard, right, without it being illegal. It's same with a federally protected bird. I mean, you can mow your grass and you can plead ignorance, but ignorance of the law is no excuse. If somebody is there and can document the fact that you've destroyed, you know, a protected species, then you're susceptible to fines under federal law. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, for your comments.
Hello, my name is Sarah Elbert Beck, but it's much louder up here than it is back there. And I live at 4851 Camelot Drive. And I am a member of Audubon and Cornell Lab of Ornithology, but I'm just an average citizen who likes looking at birds. And when I saw this in October, I was angry. How could this happen without an environmental, impact statement? I was also in the military for 10 years, so we had to do everything by the book. But I was so moved when I saw in the Telegraph Herald the excuse that the developer had made, and believe me, the irony is not lost on me that it is Talon and Eagle that are the name of the developers. But I felt very strongly that I needed to come down, and especially when they said that their excuse for mowing was in order to comply with the city's property maintenance standards. Now, they may have been telling the truth, or that may just have been an excuse to try to get off what they had done wrong. But maybe we need an ordinance that says compliance with the Migratory Bird Act, Nesting Act supersedes any city ordinance on mowing. Bobolinks are a joy to behold. They have a dazzling song and mesmerizing mating display. And a remarkable migration, and we're part of that migration, and we lost a big chunk of it. According to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, 88% of their population has disappeared from the earth since 1970, and we've just been a little part of that too. And I hate to see that continue. I came here very angry and sad, and after listening to the two speakers prior to me, I'm going to leave here with a little hope, knowing that the city actually owns a piece of land that is a nesting site. And the city has the power from this moment forward to protect those birds that we have. And I'm not sure how all this city council stuff works, but I hope that it does show up as an agenda item, or at least an item of discussion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarah, for your comments. Any other public input this evening?
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and City Council. My name is Josh Kruger with Talon Development, 1305 East Benson Road, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm up here today to, number one, not make any excuses, just describe the chain of events and try to work through a solution that everybody can agree that would benefit, developers as well as societies like the Dubuque Audubon Society. So last week, it was Tuesday, the 13th, and I had been forwarded an email from the city manager. It was the letter that Mr. Kenneth Kiss had sent to, I believe, our office or an email. We did end up finding the original email in like an unmonitored inbox. It wasn't directed to me personally. The letter was, but not the email. But that was unfortunately where everything kind of went sideways, and I didn't get it until Tuesday morning. And, you know, we made the phone call to the previous property owner that we bought the land from back in December of 2022. And unfortunately, he never communicated with the guy that had been mowing that land for hay in the past years, timing unrelated, that he was no longer to do that, and he was out there mowing. You know, we understand that, you know, we need to keep the property looking decent. You know, it's just a necessity of owning property in the city of Dubuque. But, you know, protecting animals and species that reside on property is obviously, you know, of higher importance than some of that, and we understand that, and agree that, you know, through the development process, and I've been through, you know, city council with various properties throughout the state of Iowa, and, you know, it could be better communicated with developers and other environmental, you know, impact studies, that, you know, what's expected throughout the seasons, because that changes the situation, you know, just month by month. But, you know, overall, nothing that we did, you know, was meant to be malicious or harmful, or just, you know, we were not ignoring a fact of anything. We just had yet to have a conversation with the Dubuque Audubon Society until last week after the property was mowed. So, you know, that's, I just wanted to keep it short and simple, but just wanted everybody to know that if, you know, if there are further discussions about how something could be put in place with developers and, you know, the planning staff at the city of Dubuque, I'm willing to be at the table and help try to figure out kind of the right point to interject that before something would happen again to affect any other species, whether it be a bird or insect or anything else. So, thank you.
Thank you, Josh, for your comments. Anyone else this evening?
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, my name is Rick Dickinson. I have the pleasure of serving as the president of Greater Dubuque Development Corporation. I rise, first of all, in appreciation for our citizens that care about our environment and certainly care about migratory birds. I think we all share in the love of the environment here in the community. That's why we see ourselves as an example for sustainable communities. But having said that, I also want to make sure that we don't vilify in any way, shape, or form Talon development or EO construction. Mr. Kruger stated in a previous letter, explained the circumstances, the unfortunate circumstances, that this property is privately held. This property is zoned commercial, residential. This property has created internal roads for that very purpose. This property has been fallow for approximately 20 years with no development. And once this community identified housing as a need, once a housing study identified we needed over 1,100 units developed in our community, Talon stepped up when others didn't. So we greatly appreciate that. Unfortunately, the farmer that owned it from up around Mason City had someone locally mow that grass every year and bailed it, evidently, unbeknownst to Talon, unbeknownst to Eagle. Unfortunate, but let's not blame Talon, let's not blame Eagle. Let's thank them for investment in this community and talk about better solutions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for your comments. All right, anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, thank you everyone for your input this evening. Adrian, we can go ahead and move on to action items, please.
Mr. Mayor, just to confirm that we didn't have anyone, I believe, virtually. who
Thank you very
wanted
much,
to
Adrian, for
comment.
checking me.
Yes, and then.
We're good?
Yep, and then no written input
All right, thank
received.
you,
So, yep,
Adrian.
we'll move on to action items. Action item number 1 is Municipal Services Center EV Charging Stations Project.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Sprang.
A motion by Jones and a second by Sprank. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Public Works Director John Klosterman is recommending City Council adopt a resolution awarding the public improvement construction contract for the Municipal Services Center EV Charging Stations Project to Westfall and Company in the low bid amount of $137,400. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr.
Just a question. Have they, Mr. Van Milligan, have they considered or done some kind of figure in about how much we're spending, $137,000. Have they talked about the savings, the fuel savings that the EV vehicles are going to have this year, 5 years from now, 10 years, as we grow our fleet, or is a financial aspect part of this decision?
I'm going to have to ask John Klosterman. Would you have, I don't have an answer to that question, so I don't know if you do or not.
Are there anticipated savings?
Yeah, well, I have an answer to that question. Yes, there is anticipated savings, and there's also anticipated positive environmental impacts.
Right. So
But I
that's what
don't
was
know
hoping-
if we actually calculated the life cycle savings. I don't know if we did that.
Okay, thank you very much. It would be great if we had, because then we would have data to talk about this. But just to talk in a general way, perhaps as Mr. Van Milligan did, about some of the financial savings that we anticipate. Thank you.
Well, I know too, just a quick point on that. I know that we passed in this past year a new formula for purchasing electric vehicles, correct? I mean, so we worked in the cost savings into our purchasing plans for the future going forward. It's not specific to this necessarily, but it is a piece of it, I think, to at least bring up as we talk about that too.
That's a great point. You're correct. We did that. You adopted a formula under which we do the life cycle cost of when we're considering buying new vehicles, choosing EV versus diesel, clean diesel, or gasoline vehicles.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. It's a good point, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
For what it's worth, my vehicle's not all electric. It's a plug-in hybrid. But as I parked out here just this afternoon to come into this meeting, my dashboard told me that it's been 860 miles since I put gasoline in that car. And I got about 3/4 of a tank left.
Well, I'm jealous. Anyone else? I'm just very excited to see this moving forward. We've been talking about this and trying to put the infrastructure in place. As I've mentioned many times in these conversations, as I talk about this to other mayors and council members across the country, other places are a little bit farther ahead, some places are a little farther behind. We've got a lot of other variables to check off here. I mean, we have to think about our electric power grid entirely as far as the whole region goes. But us as a city taking a step like this to move forward to actually, continuing down this path of having a project like this, I think is very, very important with our climate action goals. So I'm very excited to vote for this tonight, and thank you for your work on it, John, and your team. All right. With that, then, we have a motion by Jones, second by Sprank. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 2 is final plat of Switch Homes of Dubuque.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Wethel.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
So, yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong page. Thank you. We have a motion by Wethel
Second.
and a second by Jones. Mike, please. Or actually, are we going to go to Wally on this one? Or you? Okay, Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Planning Services Manager Wally Werneman is recommending approval of the Switch Homes of Dubuque final plat. The Zoning Advisory Commission approved the preliminary plat at their November 2nd, 2022 meeting. On June 20th, 2022, the City Council approved the rezoning of the property from AG Agricultural to R1 Single Family Residential and R4 Multifamily Residential, conditioned upon the completion of a traffic study for the proposed project. The traffic study was completed by a civil engineering firm and has been reviewed and accepted by the City of Dubuque Engineering Department. As a result of the traffic study, the development will be required to install a right-in, right-out access with a right-turn de-acceleration lane into the development. The final plat of Switch Homes of Dubuque creates 84 single-family residential lots, 2 multifamily lots, 12 outlots for stormwater management, common open space, community gardens, city park, future phase development, future right-of-way, and 3 letter lots for street purposes. As part of the subdivision, the developer plans to construct and provide at their cost subdivision improvements, including streets with longitudinal subdrains and concrete curb and gutter, paved temporary cul-de-sacs, sanitary sewer mains, water mains, a stormwater detention basin, storm sewers and catch basins, boulevard street lighting, fiber optic conduit and vaults, accessible sidewalk ramps, concrete sidewalks, and appropriate erosion control devices to the site, and will need to construct and carry out any other activities associated with the project in accordance with city plans and specifications. Tiffany Court will be extended into the development and retain the same name. This development is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan goals promote infill and mixed-use development. The city's comprehensive plan identifies the subject property areas as single-family residential land use, which includes low-density, single-family homes and related recreational, religious, and educational facilities that typically service a neighborhood population. Single-family residential land use encourages a mix of housing affordable for all segments of Dubuque's populations throughout the community, including options for those who might be saving for their first home. The proposed development would help to meet the following recommendations of the city's comprehensive plan: foster the development of new and additional housing product in suitable locations throughout the city, integrate new development into the natural environment by protecting significant woodland, prairie, and wetland areas and avoiding steep slopes, encourage a mix of housing affordable for all segments of Dubuque's population throughout the community. Pursuant to Article, Pursuant to Article 11-10C of the Unified Development Code, the subdivision must meet a minimum of 40 points for sustainability. As proposed, the Switch Homes of Dubuque subdivision development exceeds the Unified Development Code's requirement, achieving 80 points of sustainability. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Resnick.
I would just, there's a lot that goes into these plats, so I was hoping that Mr. Werner might explain the process, because I know it's been extensive, and to let the people know that a lot of thought and interaction with the neighbors goes into this. I'm also, I wanted to express that I was happy to see an Outlot G, that there would be a park area involved. It wasn't mentioned by Mr. Van Milligan, but I think an important aspect. And there's other outlots that are just common areas. But if you wouldn't mind explaining the general process to get to this point as far as a final plat. Thank you.
Yeah, Wally Werma, Planning Services Manager. Most definitely, and actually next week you'll have a work session where we'll actually go into the DRT process in detail, where I'll have individuals who you hear me talk about all the time actually get up and give a brief presentation about what they do when they review these subdivision plats. So a subdivision plat comes before our Planning Services Department. It's submitted. That plat then is taken through a preliminary plat review process, which the engineer and the developer work to develop the site, lay out the lot layout. We have conversations as a higher up scale with regards to how roads are being connected, stormwater on the site, sanitary sewer connection, and water connection, in addition to fire emergency access to the properties. That's not the preliminary plat level. That goes before our zoning advisory commission. They review it to make sure it's in conformance with our Unified Development Code requirements. The next step after that preliminary plat is approved, and in this case, it was actually one step ahead because you required a traffic study to be done as part of the rezoning process. So a detailed traffic study was performed with regards to it, and we've identified some of the results of the requirements that have to be done for the development. Then the next part that comes to with regards to final plat, which you'll see that, they said 105 lots, but you see 84 lots listed here. There is a portion of the development that will be a second phase with regards to sanitary sewer that has to be lifted in the development of the site. But we receive what they call improvement plans or construction documents that actually come to the city. And this is what takes a little bit more time for review. These are the actual detailed documents that lays out how the streets are going to be constructed, where cut and fill is going to be located, how stormwater management is going to be managed on the site, where is sanitary sewer going to be located, where is water going to be located. But then also we have to take into consideration how we're going to extend those utilities to adjoining properties for future development. We look at the street network connecting to the adjoining properties and look at placing temporary cul-de-sacs for future development and that connectivity. That's just smart planning principles in order to allow connectivity as we grow with our community. So all those plans are actually submitted to the development review team, and they go into great detail where we work with the developer's engineer with regards to making sure that they meet multiple code requirements. And I'm going to talk about SUDAS and the Unified Development Code and fire codes and building codes, stormwater control. So there's just a lot of information that goes through reviewing these plans and approving them before they even get to this point for the final plat. We do not take the final plat before the city council unless they're in compliance with all those standard codes and requirements. So there's just a lot of information that gets provided with those.
Great. Thank you. And I just want to be assured that, sometimes developers, it's a private street, and so they're not as big, they're not as wide. Now, these are all city streets, and they comply with all city requirements. Is that correct?
That's correct. So actually, when the preliminary plat came through, there was more streets included in the development. After having conversations with them, they reduced some of the streets for costs. This is a very expensive site to develop. There is a lot of cutting and filling on the site for the development. But we also take a consideration when we look at streets as site visibility, safety, traffic control. Yes, they're all public streets. They all meet the standard requirements, and they're being requested to be dedicated to the city upon completion and a 2-year warranty review of those before we'll fully accept those improvements. So,
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Roussel.
Thank you. I'm excited to see here a final plat that's ready to go, but I know that the process that it took to get here included conversations with lots of our neighbors, and we've listened and learned from the input that we get from the people in the neighborhood. And I especially like the way Mr. Lucy outlined the economic benefits to our entire community of a development such as this. And I think that he's also given us some additional ideas that we can keep in mind if other development happens in the area, or as we're going through with other developments. So as Ms. Wethel mentioned earlier, I think it's important for our neighbors to know that we've listened carefully to all the input that we get, and we always take that into consideration as we're developing these final plats. So I thank you for your role in that, Wally. I know that you answer a lot of questions for a lot of people, and you do it in a way that we can all understand. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rousseau. Anyone else? Ms. Rousseau, you said something, and it made me think of what we hear a lot these days. We hear, I know some people don't call themselves politicians when you sit at a desk like this, but you are. So when you hear politicians talk a lot of the time, they say things like, we've listened to you and we hear you and we've thought about what you said, we've read the emails that you sent. Sometimes they're lying to you. Sometimes they really don't mean that. But I know that this group right here means that. I mean, to their core. I've been with this group for a while now and watched them work. And when they say that they've paid attention to what residents are saying and spent the time to read that and spent the time to sit with them, I have been hard pressed to find a group of 6 other people who have done that the way that this group has. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that as we have these conversations, because I think it's really important that we are spending a lot of time having those conversations with people and paying close attention to everything that is sent to us that is written. Even if we're not quite as good at some of the others as getting back to you on time. I'm guilty of that sometimes too. But thank you very much for your comments, and thank you for all the input on this. Okay, we have a motion by Wethel, a second by Jones to receive and file, adopt the resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones. Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 3 is ordinance amendment requiring registration of all taxi cab drivers with the city clerk.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the communications and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Roussel.
We got a motion by Jones and a second by Roussel. Adrian, I'm coming to you for this one.
Yes, thank you. Adrian Breitfelder, City Clerk. So I'm just going to briefly summarize my memo. Essentially, what I am recommending is that we have an ordinance amendment related to our local taxi cab businesses that does 2 things. First is that it adds a new section requiring taxi cab businesses to submit a list of all drivers employed by the company to the city clerk when they obtain their annual taxi cab business license. After that license is obtained, the business also must share all additional drivers with the city clerk prior to the drivers operating a taxi cab once they have obtained their required permit. Additionally, the ordinance amends current language regarding vehicle registration with the city clerk to specify that the taxi cab businesses must register all vehicles operating as taxi cabs with the city clerk prior to the vehicle serving in that capacity. The ordinance currently specifies a deadline of 14 days, and we're proposing to amend that deadline to be consistent with the recommended deadline for providing information on taxi cab drivers. So that pretty much summarizes the recommendations, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Adrian. Any discussion on this? Mr. Resnick.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would like to know why you would do all this, and then does this put them at a competitive disadvantage with Uber and Lyft and others who don't necessarily have those requirements? I'd just love to have your information and opinion. Thank you.
Sure. So the reason that this is being recommended is because we've run into numerous instances of taxi cab drivers operating for local businesses who have not had the required permit. And so in trying to look at different ways that could help us to effectively enforce that, we reviewed other city codes throughout the state and noticed that the city of Cedar Rapids had a requirement for all of the taxi cab drivers to be registered with the city clerk. And in having discussions with City Attorney Brumwell and Police Chief Jeremy Jensen, we all agreed that that was a potentially effective way for enforcement. The goal being that if a taxi cab business does not provide the proper documentation, we would be able to subject them to a municipal infraction in hopes that that would help encourage them with compliance of that. In terms of your question regarding the rideshare companies such as Uber and Lyft, those companies are subject to Chapter 321N of the Iowa Code. And so under that chapter, they actually obtain a permit from the Iowa Department of Transportation in order to operate in Iowa. And as part of that chapter, they are subject to many prerequisites that are similar to what we require of our local taxi cab businesses, such as maintaining driver records and conducting a local and national criminal background check on driver applications prior to contracting a driver for the company. So once a rideshare company's permit is approved, the company is able to operate anywhere within the state and is not subject to local regulation. So I understand we get a lot of misperceptions that Uber and Lyft, people think that because they're not regulated by the city, that means they're not regulated at all. But they are regulated at the state level, and the state does subject them to many of the same requirements that the city does.
Thank you. And had the taxi cab companies been notified, and has there been a response for them if they have? Thank you.
Our intention is to notify them of this requirement if the ordinance is passed, to give them time to share the driver information with us.
So they don't, this is a surprise to them tonight?
We have not made them aware in the past. I guess I would say in the past, when we have run into issues of drivers operating without a permit, we have reached out to them to ask them to voluntarily submit a list of their drivers to us, which they have complied with. So now our goal is to have more of an enforcement mechanism behind that to make sure that they comply with employing drivers that receive their permit through our office.
Thank you very much. Now, I think it's a good idea that we're doing this. I'd prefer, of course, that we would have talked to our drivers, at least let them know that we were considering to do this. It affects their livelihood, you know, and bringing home money for their family. So I would be open to other discussions. I think it's a good idea, but maybe not tonight. But I would love to hear from other council members. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Resnick. Other thoughts?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I would have thought we'd always done this. It's pretty reasonable on the face and absolutely necessary, in my view, to protect the safety of the public.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Farber?
Yeah, I concur as well with Mr. Jones and his comments.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Just to be, I also agree with Mr. Jones that we are not in disagreement. The point that I don't know if he's agreeing with my point about that maybe we should have contacted these companies earlier, and then at least information-wise, and to get their response. That would be our point. If there's any disagreement with Mr. Jones at all, that would be it. Thank you.
And I think for my part, I see your point, Mr. Resnick. I mean, it's always nice to give people a heads up. I think if we were asking for something really difficult, that would be, I would see a little more in that direction. But I think at this point, the fact that we're just simply going to be asking them for something that they've voluntarily given when the city clerk's office has asked in the past, and it's basically just making sure that they're complying with the law as it stands. I think it's not too much to move this forward tonight. I don't see any reason to delay this ordinance and not waive the 3 readings on this as the motion states. I think we should move it forward, even though it may be a surprise to some, but I don't think it's going to be a surprise that will be insurmountable or any great challenge, unless they are, of course, not following the rules as they already stand. With that, we have a motion to receive and file and waive the 3 readings. So, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick?
No.
Wethel? Aye. Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Roussel?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Sprank?
Aye.
Farber?
Aye.
That motion passes 6-1.
Mr. Mayor.
And Mr. Jones.
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second by Wethel.
We got a motion by Jones and a second by Wethel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick?
Aye.
Wethel?
Aye.
Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Roussel?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Sprank?
Aye.
Farber?
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 4 is Raise Infrastructure Planning Grant, Consultant Professional Services, Request for Proposals, Engineering Design, and NEPA Environmental Project Development.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and approve this. Yes.
Second.
Got a motion by Sprank and a second by Jones. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Assistant City Engineer Bob Schissel is recommending City Council approval to initiate the request for proposals process for professional consultant services to complete the engineering design and NEPA environmental study phase to advance development for the Rebuilding America's Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, or RAISE, Infrastructure Planning Grant for the project entitled Building Bridges to Employment and Equity. The city was awarded a U.S. Department of Transportation, or USDOT, RAISE Infrastructure Planning Grant, which will provide for the planning and design of a multimodal transportation corridor project for proposed improvements to the Elm Street Corridor, the 16th Street Corridor, the Cooper Boulevard Corridor, Chaplain-Schmidt Island Corridor, and the proposed 14th Street Railroad Vehicular and Pedestrian Overpass Bridge Project. The RAISE Infrastructure Planning Grant proposes a project entitled Building Bridges to Employment and Equity, or B2E2. Through the grant, the city was awarded $2.28 million in U.S. DOT RAISE planning funds to assist with the planning and design of a multimodal transportation corridor which will connect vulnerable neighborhoods and low-income residents with economic opportunities, recreational amenities, and key community resources in the Kerper Boulevard Industrial Park, on Chaplain-Schmidt Island, in downtown Dubuque, and its historic Millwork District, and on the west side of the city via the Downtown Intermodal Transportation Center. In particular, the RAISE Infrastructure Planning Grant would be used for planning and design of physical connections that will directly benefit low-income residents in areas of persistent poverty, Census Tracts 1 and Census Tract 5, by connecting them to economic opportunities such as the Kerper Boulevard Industrial Park and Chaplain-Schmidt Island and key community assets. Improving safety for all users is a key goal of the proposed RAISE Infrastructure Planning Grant. A primary focus of the B2E2 project is the elimination of an at-grade railroad crossing conflict on 14th Street and will provide for the planning and design of a proposed vehicular and pedestrian overpass bridge which will connect downtown residents to job opportunities while avoiding train crossing delays that negatively impact the safe and efficient movement of people and goods to and from the Kerper Boulevard Industrial Park and Chaplain-Schmidt Island. The project will also focus on multimodal transportation corridors with complete streets and proposed roundabout intersections along Elm Street and 16th Street corridors. The project would also include the design of an improved pedestrian bike shared use path adjacent to the existing 16th Street Piasta Channel Bridge to Chaplain-Schmidt Island, and strategically plan a roundabout at Captain Sheehy Drive on Chaplain-Schmidt Island. And while I didn't mention in my memo, I think it's worth mentioning that the match for this grant, which was approximately $700,000 of local dollars, was provided by the Dubuque Racing Association. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion?
Just one comment.
Mr. Jones.
Gets us just a little bit closer to being able to come up with railroad quiet zones as well, by eliminating that grade crossing.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this project, I know, so we're very excited, at least I am very excited to see this move forward and really excited to take this next step of actually starting to put some pen to paper.
And I might add, Mr. Mayor, that you gave U.S. DOT Secretary Pete Buttigieg a tour of this project just a few weeks ago when he came to Dubuque to I would suggest admire this project because he feels it really meets the goals that the federal government has while meeting our local goals.
Yeah, it was definitely an honor to have the secretary here in town to look at this project and to see the renderings of it, just like we're looking at now. I mean, it really, to see it as we're standing right there and you can see what this can really be. It's a really exciting project. I think, when you grow up here and you've spent so much time in Dubuque, you don't fully appreciate the lack of ability to get over the railroad and the lack of connection that we have in some ways. This really solves so many of the challenges we have, particularly in some neighborhoods that could really use some better transportation. Mr. Sprank, I know you know that, given it. So with that, we have a motion by Sprank, a second by Jones. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel. Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 5 is Old Highway Road Water Main Connection Loop 2023 Award Resolution.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones?
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Jones and a second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Water Department Manager Chris Lester is recommending City Council award the construction contract for the Old Highway Road Water Main Connection Loop 2023 to Top Grade Excavation of Farley, Iowa, in the amount of $697,604 to the adoption of the attached resolution. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? Seeing none. You've got a motion by Jones and a second by Wethel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 6 is Reimagine Comiskey Park Project ribbon cutting and celebration.
Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I would motion that we receive and file.
Second.
Motion by Sprank, second by Jones. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Public Information Officer Randy Gale is sharing information with City Council on the Reimagine Comiskey Park Project ribbon cutting and celebration to be held 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Thursday, June 29th, with a rain date of Friday, June 30th. Communications Specialist Kristen Hill has been working with Leisure Services staff and engineering staff to review logistics and coordinate and promote the event. The event will begin with a ribbon cutting ceremony at 5:30 p.m. with a community celebration following until 8 p.m. The ribbon cutting ceremony will include remarks from elected officials, a neighborhood association representative, city staff, and funding partner representatives. After the remarks and the ribbon is cut, attendees will be welcome to enjoy the all-new amenities at the park: a splash pad, multi-sport court, playground equipment, walkways, seating walls, shaded picnic shelters, trees, and landscaping. Complimentary food will be provided, a DJ will be playing music, and activities and games will be offered, including the Wreck and Roll trailer activities and amenities-specific activities throughout the park provided by Recreation Division staff. The Comiskey Park building will also be open, and city staff will have stations to assist residents with online recreation program registration. An event invitation is being mailed to over 6,000 addresses in the general vicinity of Comiskey Park. A news release will be issued, and the event is also being promoted on social media and other communication channels.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments, Mr. Sprank? Go for it.
It's been a really beautiful project to see come along. Staff has made it just looks gorgeous. The colors, I mean, literally it's right across from my house, and I've been watching the whole project go on, and it's been just fun to watch it come along. The neighbors are really excited. Kids have been jumping the fence, and I've been yelling at them to stop jumping the fence, but they want to be on the park. They want to play on the new park, so I'm really excited. I just wish I could be there when we have whoever gets to test out the splash pad, because somebody's got to run through it like 50 times to make sure it all works. So I don't know who that's going to be. So it'd be a funny picture to see city staff just running around, playing around. So, but
It sounds to me like you just volunteered. So. Marie's right there.
I'm very looking forward to it, and I hope we everybody on council can come down and see it. So
Yeah, excellent. Well, the weather's going to be perfect because it never rains anymore, so
right.
Should work out pretty well. Mr. Resnick.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. So I'm down there a lot too with the bike path is there, and there's a lot of great things going on. I do have a question to Mr. Van Milligan. There's a huge pile of dirt there, and I didn't know if that's going to be a permanent berm or if they have plans for that. So, I mean, it's covered with greenery, so it's not blowing all over but Mount Comiskey, I don't know if that's what we want.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Marie Ware, Leisure Services Manager. We had the opportunity for that dirt from a project that was on the west side of town. And it was going to be in one of the areas that Simmons bought. And it was from our project, from the creek. And we're like, can we have that dirt? Because we knew we would need it for our project, and then the big dirt pile that's over along the B branch, over by the DQ, 16th Street. So those two dirt piles are actually from out there. So free dirt, which of course usually you have to pay for that. Comiskey, although it looks flat as a pancake, one of the things that we needed to be able to do was for phase 1 and phase 2, you need some dirt for phase 1, which is what we did. But the big thing for phase 2 in the planning was a big multi-purpose field. And the problem with the one we had before, it was flat as a pancake, and you really need to make it just a little bit of a grade. And so that dirt is going to, we used some of it on phase one. That's why the pile kind of changed in shape and that sort of thing. We'll use the remainder of that in the phase two. So we're going to put a cover crop, you might say, over the top of it. The weeds kind of became its own cover crop and actually keeps everybody off of it because it's just not inviting to play on. And so that will still be there until we do the phase two and can take that dirt and spread it all across that whole area. And that'll save us money. It was far cheaper for us to truck it there and just have that trucking cost, and you're not moving it twice and you're not doing that. So we saved a lot of money by making that investment for both us, for the park, and then engineering for the pile that they're, and you can see their pile is also slowly getting smaller there as well.
Okay, thank you. When I was young, we played King of the Hill, and I didn't know if that was going to be a permanent King of the Hill pile.
No,
Okay.
it will not be permanent because there's actually some things planned in that area. There'll be a couple more smaller pavilions, a walkway that kind of goes through there. And so the basketball courts, there's one there now. There'll actually be two more that will be added. So there'll be a bank of 3 basketball courts in that area. So that'll take up part of the area where the that pile is at as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So for a short time, Mount Comiskey remains.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Any others? We're very, very excited to celebrate this at the end of the month. This is going to be a fun one, and it does look beautiful. I mean, it's so exciting to see it coming together.
Yeah, well, and either wear your swimsuits or clothes you don't mind getting wet in.
Because we're following Mr. Sprank into the splash pad.
Exactly.
All right. Perfect. Well, we have a motion here to receive and file this information, and a second. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. And Maria, I forgot to say thank you, so thank you for your comments.
Action.
Next, sorry, go ahead.
Action item number 7 is our valued and important partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Dubuque.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file.
Second?
A motion by Jones, second by Resnick. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Leisure Services Manager Marie Ware is sharing information on the food distribution partnership between the Leisure Services Department and the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Dubuque.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? I know that a number of us have worked on food distribution in our own ways as council members, and I know that this is something that we all pay attention to in our own wards or the areas we represent, and always glad to see ways in which we are able to partner and continue to make sure that people are fed throughout the summer. It really is, in a modern society, it's an absolutely tragic thing that we have to talk about this in these ways. And but it is the absolute truth that there are children in our community that, without programs like this, would not be eating on a regular basis throughout the summer. And that is, it is tragic but true. And I'm glad that we're continuing to work towards finding solutions to that. So thank you very much for doing that. All right, we have a motion from Jones, second from Resnick. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 8 is intent to apply for USDA Forest Service Urban and Community Forest Program Grant.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and approve.
Second by Sprank.
Motion by Roussel and a second by Sprank. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Leisure Services Manager Marie Ware is recommending City Council approve the application for the USDA Forest Service Urban and Community Forest Program Grant. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? Ms. Roussel.
Thank you. Of course, I always have a few thoughts on trees. Most everyone knows that I'm really passionate about trees. Most everyone knows that I'm the president and founder of Dubuque Trees Forever, a 501c3 nonprofit. We have partnered with the city to enhance their efforts to plant and care for trees since 2017. And I'm thrilled that this grant could bring more trees and their benefits to our low-income census tracts. Those include economic benefits such as lower utility bills, social benefits like green spaces to socialize and get away from the heat, and a multitude of environmental benefits such as cleaner air, not to mention beautifying neighborhoods. So I double-checked with Crenna to make sure it was okay to participate in this vote since we are named as a partner. Since we do not benefit financially from this endeavor, I am proud to add my support for this grant application that could bring more trees and their benefits to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roussel, and for your tireless work on this issue. Any others? Another exciting opportunity. Fingers crossed on this one. Well, we have a motion and a second. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel. Aye. Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank. Farber.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 9 is contracted services agreements for fiscal year 2024.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file and approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Jones, second by Farber. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending City Council approves the attached contracted service agreements with the listed agencies and authorizes the mayor to execute the contracts on behalf of the city. The adopted fiscal year 2024 operating budget provides a payment of as follows: $35,000 to the Dubuque Area Labor Management Council, $63,000 to the Dubuque Dream Center, $96,211 to Dubuque Main Street, $63,000 to the Fountain of Youth Program, $15,000 to the Four Mounds Foundation to manage the Dubuque Winter Farmers Market, $836,135 to the Greater Dubuque Development Corporation, and $1,446,631 to Travel Dubuque. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Ms. Wethel.
I intend to refrain from participation in voting on this item. I'm abstaining from the vote this evening for direct funding for GDDC while my father is the president and CEO of the organization.
Thank you, Ms. Wethel. Any other discussion? I just want to say a quick thank you to all of our partners. This is something we've been doing for quite a while now, and I can definitely see benefits from this happening all the way across the board, every single one of those organizations mentioned there.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Resnick.
For the person who made the motion, would they consider making the motion? I would just like Ms. Wethel to be able to vote for some of this, even if she can't for it. Is there a way to split this up, or because I know she supports so many different things here, and sometimes, like in the when we have that first the consent item, sometimes we separate something out. But it's just a consideration. If not, I intend to support this. Thank you.
There's no problem with doing that. So if you want to sort it out and do it two separate motions, so GDDC is separated from the remainder of them, you can.
So we'd essentially be voting on two separate motions here?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Jones, you made the original motion.
Yeah, let me modify my motion to move to receive and file the documents and approve the contract with Greater Dubuque Development Corporation.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Jones and a second by Farber to receive and file and approve the contract solely with the Greater Dubuque Development Corporation for this motion. So, everybody understand that? Okay. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move that we approve the contracts also for Dubuque Area Labor Management Council, Dubuque Dream Center, Dubuque Main Street, Fountain of Youth, Four Mounds, and Travel Dubuque.
Second.
And Dubuque Winter Farmers Market.
Yes, I said Four Mounds, I didn't say that.
Four Mounds to manage the
didn't say
Dubuque Winter
second
Farmers
part.
Market. Sure. Okay. All right. Did we cover everything there, Adrian and Crenna? All right.
We received and filed everything in the previous motion.
Okay.
But we'll do it again if you like.
Do I need to second again?
If you like.
As amended, second.
Okay. All right. So we've got a motion by Jones, second by Farber, to approve the rest of the contracted service agreements within that paragraph there in the agenda, all laid out well by Mr. Jones. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel. Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
7-0.
Action item number 10 is work session request, Dubuque Racing Association, Schmidt Island Development Update.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I move that the City Council schedule a work session for Wednesday, June 28th at 6 o'clock p.m. for the Dubuque Racing Association to present an update on the Schmidt Island Development Project.
Second by Sprank.
Got a motion by Jones and a second by Sprank this time. Excited to have this work session. So works for everybody, I'm hoping. Great. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 11 is work session request, Historic Millwork District Master Plan Update.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move that the council schedule a work session for the Historic Millwork District Master Plan Update for 5:30 PM on Monday, July 31st.
Okay. Would you like to add receive and file to that motion?
Receive and file, yes, that's
Thank
what
you very
I
much.
meant.
Second by Wethel.
All right, we've got a motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. All right, works for everybody else. Excellent. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones. Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 12 is work session request, Project Hope and Inclusive Dubuque quarterly updates.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I move that the City Council schedule a work session to follow the one we just scheduled on the Monday, the 31st of July for Project Hope and Inclusive Dubuque.
Right. Do we, quick question here. It says receive and file and suggested disposition. Do we usually do that with work session requests, Brenna? Do we need to receive and file on those normally? That's what I called out on the last one.
Yeah, I believe we do.
Do we? Okay. Like to add that just for the sake of
Sure.
adding it? Okay. So we have receive and file and schedule that work session, and we have a motion by Jones,
Second.
a second by Roussel. Okay. All right. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones. Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 13 is ICMA Economic Mobility and Opportunity Cohort Community Spotlight Video.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file and view the video.
Second.
Got a motion by Roussel, a second by Farber. Eric, you can go ahead and roll that video, please.
With the support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's Economic Mobility and Opportunity Program, ICMA is offering a series of learning and training opportunities in 2023 around boosting upward mobility in local communities. The centerpiece of this program is ICMA's Economic Mobility and Opportunity Cohort, which consists of representatives from 10 diverse local governments across the United States. These teams received grants to support their work on local challenges related to housing, job opportunities and business development, reaching vulnerable populations and support for working families, and more. Members of this cohort have come together to network and learn from subject matter experts and each other about strategies for advancing their local priorities.
We're super excited to be a part of the Economic Mobility Cohort with ICMA. And what we are really hoping to get out of it is really pinpointing to the local data. So in our community, we have a newly created department, the Office of Shared Prosperity and Neighborhood Support. And we have a variety of metrics that we're trying to drill down to the city level to make sure that we are improving economic mobility for residents in our community. And that's just not the financial aspect, that's also the social and political power as well, to make sure that people are thriving in our community.
And our role as the economic development organization is to really bring our private industry partners into that conversation too. So building that supply side, bringing the opportunity that's available at our employers in our region to the residents and finding a way to get them there, to set them on that path of prosperity in the Dubuque area.
So what do we plan to implement in our community? So there's two goals that we will try to implement. Number one is through Opportunity Dubuque, which is a program to skill people up, particularly those who are underemployed, to high in-demand jobs. So it's an existing initiative, and we want to put resources to try to expand those efforts to really reach out to those who are not connected to that system itself. And so some targeting efforts to racial and women, minorities in our community. And the second thing that we want to do is to give out small business grant to women and racial minority-owned businesses in our community. And that's based on the needs in our community. We know there's a variety of people that could use a little more capital if they would have that opportunity. And so we're planning on having $1,000 to $3,000 to support those who want to expand or start up their business in our community.
Related to Opportunity Dubuque, we in our office partner with our higher ed institution to create the most efficacious or the most useful certificate programs to meet the demands that our employers have in the community. And our office will help support the tuition costs as well as some other supports to those students to be successful in enrolling and graduating and then getting that position. And the hope is that that leads them on the income side towards a path towards prosperity. But I think Anderson's point is very key here, and why we're excited to partner with the city and his office on this is getting these programs that we've developed with the best intentions in mind to the residents, to the people who are most going to be impacted in a positive way by them.
You know, we have a mission at the City of Dubuque. Big picture is to create an equitable community of choice where everyone in our community, those who are there existingly or those who are moving, can thrive holistically, not just financially, but again, have the amenities that they need to thrive in our community. So that's the vision for our community, and we're striving to get that every single day in partnership with people. We know a key success to our community is people planning in partnership. And so we want to strive to get to that vision collectively with everyone.
We are a regional economic development office, but obviously the city of Dubuque is our major partner in these efforts. And we have an aspirational goal for our community that anyone who comes there can be great there. Whether the aspect of their life, they need training to find a career, or they are a highly skilled person and we want to be their community of choice and be able to thrive there. So this is an opportunity for us to work with ICMA to really fulfill that aspiration of being a community of choice and really being able to say, you can be great here.
For more on this initiative, visit icma.org/EMO.
Oh, that's excellent. It's exciting to see Anderson and Nick and everybody being involved in that there too. So that's wonderful. And Corey, you were the other one on the picture. I was trying to, it wasn't registering yet, but yes, you're also involved. So yeah, any discussion on any of this? Well, thank you for your work on it. All right. Well, we had a motion to receive and file. Watch that video. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
We'll move on to council member reports.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Sprank.
I just want to give a big thank you to the Public Information Office. They created a phenomenal video that highlights and kind of sums up the entire Pride event that we had. It's on the MFC's website or Facebook. It is a very moving video, and I hope folks take the time to just watch it. It's under 2 minutes, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sprank. They are a great department. I mean, it's incredible what we're able to accomplish as a city with the people in our public information office. Not every city has that, and they are able to tell our story in such an amazing way. So thank you for mentioning that.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Ms. Farber.
And speaking of saying our story, whether it's in English or French, I had the honor of attending the French Heritage Corridor Conference on June 15th. And it was just a really interesting opportunity to learn about the enthusiasm and energy of the 7 states within our region who are exploring 350 years of the founding of Marquette and Joliet, of Prairie du Chien, which is where the conference was held, but more importantly of the French heritage that exists in this region, especially in Dubuque, and it covers not only the French Canadians and the French, but the Haitians and the variety of tribes from the Midwest area here. So it was a great conversation. They talked about the Meskwaki Indians, and as you know, Julian Dubuque married the daughter, or the daughter of the chief here, and that history goes on and lives within Dubuque. But what was most important was just to establish connections for the city and to have potentials for sister city international involvement with French countries, if you will, or country cities, and also just for the history of Dubuque and for tourism for us to continue to have a conversation on behalf of our heritage. So it was a lot of fun for me, and of course I got to speak a little French. So merci bien.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Jones.
We had some great press today and yesterday about the public safety camp happening this week out at the Regional Emergency Responder Training Facility. They've got a bunch of middle school kids out there doing all kinds of cop and firefighter stuff. Our next generation of public safety professionals may well be out there rappelling off buildings and squirting water and learning about the life of emergency responders. Real proud of our team.
Yeah. And there have been some great pictures of that shared on social media too. So it's been a lot of fun to watch. It looks like a really fun camp and very, very informative. Ms. Wethel.
I had the privilege of touring and meeting with folks at the Liberty Recovery Center, and both Michelle Mikalakis as well as residents there who talked to me about how powerful community support can be in recovery. And I just was really blown away by the community that they have there, and so was really proud to get to tour, and I appreciated the experience.
Thank you. Well, I have a couple of things from the last week. First, I had the great honor of representing Dubuque along with a number of other Iowans, a couple dozen actually. We were invited to the White House last week to talk about some of the ways in which we are leveraging some of the pretty incredible amount of resources coming from the federal government right now. We're on the bipartisan infrastructure law, ARPA, all the different bills that have passed to really help cities like us. The RAISE grant was one example of this. So the ability to be able to talk about Dubuque again with an Iowa audience to a national audience was, I think, it was a great honor, and it's definitely a statement of where we are as a city and the great work that we're doing. So thank you to everyone for that. And I also was able to, on Saturday, attend the Juneteenth event at Jackson Park, which was an absolute blast. I know we've had some great events. I mean, you mentioned the Pride event, Mr. Sprank. This event, I think, drew another hundreds of people to it, and we're actually really enjoying Jackson Park. I know Comiskey's a great spot too, but where we were all kind of packed right in there to be able to talk to each other was a lot of fun. Great community event, and it was wonderful to have a Juneteenth holiday this year that was an official holiday for the city of Dubuque. So thank you to all of you for that too, and to the entire community for coming out. Well, I see we have a closed session here, so I'd entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I move that the City Council go into closed session in accordance with Chapter 21.5 of the Code of Iowa to discuss pending real estate transactions.
Second by Wethel.
And litigation.
And litigation.
And pending litigation. Thank you very much. And seconded by Wethel, I heard? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, thank you. And for the record, the attorney the City Council will consult with on the issues to be discussed in the closed session is City Attorney Krenner Brumwell. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Motion passes 7-0. We are in closed session.